Hey, this is for everybody who has already met their karmic soulmate, twin flame soulmate, and for those of you who are still thinking, who is he, who is she, where can I find them? So before I start, I'm going to just explain to you the spread that I have developed for this occasion. So here are the significators that I'm using for this particular reading. Remember, significators mean that this is going to be the same for every sign. The reason why I'm choosing them, it's sort of like the category that I really want to find the answers to, as if you're in a bookstore and you find a book with this title. So let me explain to you the significators that I'm choosing. The first one is Luna. Luna is going to tell me about the darkness and everything that maybe still didn't surface, maybe things that you don't know, maybe things that you should know. Then we have Solar Deity. Solar Deity is going to tell us what you should know. Maybe there is like still somewhere lingering, maybe it is too bright for you, maybe it's too close to your eyes, but you're going to realize that maybe you know that. Then we have Reason. Many of us are asking, why? That's the hardest question as a therapist and as a reader to really answer, why? Because we people, we don't really make too much sense when it comes to love. So we're going to try to answer it within this card. Then we have the card guidance. Let's see, because it's your mirror soul, what do you need to find out about this person? If you guys still didn't read my introduction to this series, please check somewhere in this corner before you proceed, because it's going to tell you really how and what I see it. I see it as a mirror, and that's why this is called Mirror Healing series. Then we are getting to the Tower, and the Tower is going to tell us about what needs to break. It is like always a time that certain things cannot grow anymore, and maybe they cannot grow because they're not sustainable. Maybe, we need to kind of change us. Maybe they need to change. Whatever it is, we're going to discover it in this category. And the Chariot, a lovely card with pushing it forward. Where do we go? Which turn do we take? And then let's check the significance of all of this. Two of Chalices. Is there a kiss that is going to happen? Or what at this point of time is karma telling us? So, guys, shall we start? Hi Pisces, and welcome to your Twin Flame reading. So how this really works is that I'm focused on basically energy connecting with Pisces. So whether this is like your sun sign, your ascendant, your moon sign, or there's like somebody who is interested in Pisces, so all these energies would be here. Now, if the message is not for you, just let it slide by. If it is for you, just take it. Learn something from it. These are healing series after all. Sorry. So let's start. I had too many coffees. So let's see, Pisces, what is hidden in the situation. Ace of Pentacles, Princess of Wands, and Courthouse. Do you guys have some issues with child support or children, or there is like something that you're putting in a big question? This kind of like, it's actually very, very interesting energy over here. So let me just Ace of Pentacles, I actually really like. There is like some kind of like new beginning. There is like something new that is coming forward. it's a growth. It's sort of like, look, even if you can say it's kind of breakthrough, it's going through the wall, like sort of like the seed has been planted. But there had to be something that sort of like seed was planted, but somebody didn't kind of like tend to the garden. And I don't know, a courthouse, certainly, sure, it could be some kind of like legal aspects that had to be handled in a situation. I still think about this kind of thing. Are you guys going, what is unknown? Like, it cannot be the divorce is unknown. Like, there is like somebody really, like it could be wills, I don't know, taxes, something like that. But there's like, given that he has these documents, that I think there is like sort of like willingness to settle the situation. I definitely see kind of like something that has been looking very promising that maybe kind of like got into some kind of like dispute of some sort, right? It's neutral card, even though it kind of like does have that unpleasant kind of like overtones, because nobody likes courtrooms, nobody likes tax offices, right? Maybe kind of like take it as something is happening behind your back, maybe some kind of negotiation. Maybe it's sort of like somebody's being placed in a situation saying, look, you really need to make your mind up. But it's kind of like getting to the point where will you live. That's why I kind of like do see that sort of like maybe a child, unruly child. But this also actually gives me a very immature energy. Somebody not knowing what they want, and maybe their recklessness led them to sort of like account for their actions. That's kind of like really interesting. It's kind of like very mysterious. But let's see what is known. Wow, you have 2 threes. You have 3 of Pentacles reversed, and you have 3 of Cups. Wow, and imprisonment. Well, of course, look, there are 2 types of energies, like going forward and going backward. And as you know, this is really hard to kind of like maintain. There is like a definitely twin flame kind of like feel over here, even though this like 3 of Pentacles card is generally about putting things together. It's generally about working together. It's generally about that kind of like teamwork. Like something that is really needed in a relationship, you know, sort of like 1 + 1 makes 3, like 2 people together can do much more than each person individually. But here, this seems to be lacking. And I don't know if there was another person over here. It's kind of like, what kind of like is really kind of like self-evident over here, that maybe this entire relationship was an exercise for you in kind of like understanding yourself better. But there is like an essence right now that some healing has to take place, and healing where you really need to be on your own, right? So there is some kind of like no communication. There is like some kind of isolation, even desperation, right? But at the same time, usually there is a time limit to this card, right? Maybe you're feeling lonely. Maybe you're really missing friendship, because look at this card. Oh my gosh, this card really describes you guys having that, like when you love, you kind of like really need to have somebody have your back. You are giving literally everything. And for you, it's really hard to give up on anything. And I don't like this courthouse and imprisonment. Maybe somebody's literally in a jail, and hence certain things cannot be built. Maybe, I mean, something is insurmountable that is really coming in a way. I do have to tell you, on a negative, really negative side, it really can talk about the third party, or it can talk about, you know, some kind of like unfulfilled love, or a relationship that sort of like have those restrictions, and also kind of like some kind of like resignation. Somehow, like, you know, where restraint is almost like kind of forced in the situation. It's definitely something that you're going through that requires healing. So let me see the reasons behind that. Maybe it's going to give us more. Wow. Princess of Pentacles and Prince of Cups reversed. And again, I'm seeing that healing attitude over here. This definitely kind of like means that somebody... adjudication. Oh my God. I'm literally really getting here legal processes. You know, like 2 of them are both reversed. Are you dealing with an earth sign, or simply dealing with somebody who just maybe you love on a general level, but you don't like them? And like when you really want to go in some kind of permanent union, love is not enough. Like is way more important. And look at the snake over here trying to kind of like get some kind of like reasoning. It's kind of like feels hard. I really think there was like no meeting of the minds over here in the situation. So maybe you need to go in front of somebody else. This could have been literally a judge. I mean, this is the karma card over here that we are seeing, and so is this one. So this is really confirming that this is a really difficult twin flame karmic soulmate relationship. Both of you are not ready. Whether or not you agree with me, this is what it's saying. Each of you need to really fulfill and sort of like see things in a completely different light. And hence, there is like sort of like some kind of standstill, right? Maybe, you know, it's simply talking about feeling that if you do something that you're going to be penalized for it, right? You kind of like are thinking that you're doing the right thing, but somehow, you know, you get, you know, things explode in your face. You might actually want, or you did, try to have some therapy or some mediation or being in front of the judge, sort of like to get to it. And maybe this kind of like caused trauma, right? Because adjudication describes clarifying discussions or debates, right? It's always talking about discussions or negotiations, which you kind of like had here. However, this card is also saying that the matters are actually getting resolved. So if you didn't resolve them so far, they will be resolved. The outcome will necessarily not go in your favor. It is kind of like really interesting because I see lots of people here not really willing to collaborate. I mean, these princesses also can be children, and it could be that maybe there is a custody battle over here that I'm seeing. And that you're kind of like being very protective about that. But like again, it's like 2 people pulling really this thing away. So let me see the guidance in this situation. 8 of Pentacles and 4 of Cups. And wealthy man. You kind of understand that you have to kind of like pay attention to just kind of like really focusing on things that matter. Like 8 of Pentacles is really talking about some kind of like work in progress. It's talk about paying attention to the details and ensuring the details are being taken care of. These details could be like kind of like really pesky details where, for example, you might feel, you know, changing diapers or taking kids to school is kind of like just getting to you. It can be kind of like too much at the time. But it's actually definitely the card that actually comes to some kind of like a really reward regarding this. It's definitely talking and telling you that you need to kind of really be careful about what you do. And this is also kind of like talking about building your own ground, building your own, let's call it fortunes, kind of like building some kind of stability. I can see that this has been very destabilizing. I mean, it's kind of really interesting that you have these pentacles everywhere. Stability was something that you really wanted, and maybe you really went as far as judicial system to establish it. But this again tells me maybe you have been disappointed in the situation. You see, the 4 of Cups is kind of like really interesting card, and different people kind of like see it in a kind of like different way, because sometimes like this is a card of disgust. Sometimes this is a card of disappointment, and sometimes it's just clearly stating your needs are not met. And I really think this is the case over here. Maybe you kind of like wanted more than you got. Maybe you're saying, look, I'm not going to allow this to get in my way, and I really need to kind of like move forward. Well, now you're getting wealthy, man, and this person is definitely kind of like their top hat, you know, like we have this like probably suede gloves. This is kind of like really really happy person. Like, look, he doesn't look smug. He actually really kind of like looks happy. You know, there is another card that we have in a deck that is called the Privileged Lady, sort of like that kind of like would talk about the banking processes or something. So I don't know, are you thinking about getting a loan, or maybe you were hoping that you can get some kind of like monetary judgment and maybe the money is missing? But this card definitely talks about for career success, and maybe you are kind of like getting a little bit disappointed in love and all kind of like thoughts that right now kind of rational, kind of like career, success, business, and there is like somebody here who can be a guidance for you, right? And that may be a younger man, but this also can be an employer. This certainly is a good news card, and like this is your guidance, sort of like if you're disappointed, this time is going to kind of like pass, this too shall pass kind of a thing, right? But it's saying, look, you're going to be shown opportunities and chances. Certain things have died, but the other door opened, and maybe you really didn't look at it. Now, this, to me, it actually can talk about also somebody who is very ambitious. So this could be you, or it could be that simply, you know, there is somebody who you're really, really connected, is kind of like displaying this. And it's like talking about landing on your feet, talking about, look, you know, I have to overcome myself. And this is like simply the guidance, kind of like really take care of the basics and take care of your sort of like day-to-day life, Pisces. So let's see which things here just could not be sustainable. Which things here really needed to really be broken down and kind of like restarted, because that's what the Tower category tells us. So you have 9 of Cups and 10 of Swords and expectation. Wow. In this 9 of Cups, we do not see this guy crossing his arms and waiting to be kind of like served on head and foot. No, we actually do have a happiness and a happy couple and something long term. So if this is falling in this Tower category, and you see you had one over here, right? You had the Princess of Pentacles over here, you had 8 of Pentacles, and you had 3 of Pentacles here. So this is again about happiness through, like what I said, that was almost like not possible. Those daily tasks, you haven't been appreciated. This is very, very clear. Maybe you were hoping, look, seeing eye to eye, and maybe you would even allow somebody sort of like to, let's say, lead you, but that just like was not in the cards. Because you got this 10 of Swords, that's an ugly feeling of somebody kind of like stabbing you, and you are now becoming aware. One thing is like when it happens, it's a shock, right? And in shock, it's kind of weird. I'm just seeing 222 on my clock. This time around, the readings had its master numbers, and here you have 11. So already 2. So guys, 10 of Swords reversed. It means you will really feel pain. You will not feel so much pain about something that is happening right now, but like pulling yourself together. It means pulling one by one by one by one thing from the past that have been hurtful, that have been kind of like still impacting you sort of like in the long term. This is not an easy card to kind of like go through. because, you know, sometimes we think we heal and then the situation reoccurs where we meet somebody else who's like so similar. And there is a reason for that, because this person appears in our life to actually make us look into this mirror. So you really, really kind of like need to see what was your perception about the situation and how did it go from your expectation for this like love and happiness and expectation and like to this. Maybe this is the answer, that expectations have been too high, right? So this is definitely to me a card that maybe she's somber, maybe she's wondering why not, and why not me. This to me is about wishes, this to me is about hopes, and this to me is about patience. You need to be patient in order to allow this process to happen, because it looks like, and because we have a 9 and 10, it's sort of like there was a possibility of trying to go really, really far and really, really deep. You know, this is rather saying to me, wait, rather than focus on issue. This card really talks about 3 months of patience. So you kind of like have to take into account that you are actually right now in sort of a limbo. You are in that process where something is building. I know like this is not a great thing to happen in the summer if you just happen to be in the northern hemisphere. But the expectation is also something you need to understand about yourself. If you set your bar this high and somebody cannot reach it, and you knew it that they just cannot do it, you just like thought, you know, you're going to teach this old dogs new tricks. But you have to ask yourself how realistic it is. Look, you have 28, you have 29, you have 30. It's kind of like circulating some kind of like process around this. So let's see where is the journey going to take you, the next steps. You have Prince of Pentacles in the Hierophant and Sudden Wealth. Well, talking about 11, there it is again. So this is like a third master number. So you're definitely probably having angels and you're having spirit world on your side. You're probably going to see the synchronicity, because when you start being open to spirituality, you're going to start seeing really weird things, smelling kind of different things. You will be able to communicate with animals. Last night, of course, I didn't really think seriously about this, but last night I talked to my Sapphire, Safi, and I said, okay, like you didn't kind of show up for the live readings for a while, and why don't you show up in the morning? I completely forgotten about that. And then this morning I had live, and she was all over it. So, okay, coincidence? Sure. But how come this was a coincidence? And how many coincidences should happen before you say, well, you know what, this is not coincidence anymore. Now you again have the Prince of Pentacles. That would be the Knight of Pentacles. So you almost like have the whole suit over here right now with Pentacles. So something that was probably long term is not going to happen. The Hierophant to me is this marriage card. So combining, if you guys are going through the process of divorce or something, it's kind of like happening. But, you know, this is kind of like really interesting that you are seeing this. Also look at the 777. I don't know if you can see it over here as well, a master number. Even though maybe financially you think you're going to kind of like feel on the bottom, well, there is this card saying like, you know, there is like something that can actually signify a monetary gift. Maybe you're going to lose, but it's like not emotional loss. It's more like a physical separation. I don't really see it as a loss. This is a person. But it might actually be negotiation after all. And it might be that you're going to settle and really kind of like gain a large sum. This actually can actually talk about changing your work and getting a job that is actually much better. This also, by the way, can talk about lottery winnings. So just play your card. Make sure you put 11 or 7 in this kind of like numbers. There certainly is some kind of a money that you don't have to work for. That, no, technically, even though it looks like you have been working for it quite a bit. And this, to me, is not a usual way how Pisces think. So this kind of like does tell me that something you know, something is coming in a perspective, because look at how he is looking, not back, but forward. Maybe you're also kind of like seeing some kind of release of some kind of like bounds of some kind of like relationship, because definitely, you know, most people would feel sad, but like you're kind of like feeling, you know, oh, you know, maybe it's a lucky break. Maybe this was the expectation. Maybe you had high expectations, and maybe by dropping them, because this is like what this category is saying, like you will literally need to just cut it out. And then looks like you will think that everything is gone and lost, and then it's going to be a lucky break. It's going to be a lucky break in terms of money. Wealth, mind you, it's not only money. Wealth is also health, good health. Wealth is also like that feeling of, oh my gosh, I really feel I belong. This is a really good card. It's like no wonder that it's kind of like 11. So let's see the messages from your twin flame. Wow. The Sun, the Strength, and bad health. Very strong Leo energy coming through, extremely strong, both cards. But this card is 11. Can you see it? In the other decks, the Strength is 8, but in this card is 11. So I actually always read these decks that kind of like have these two cards exchanged as both the Strength and as the Justice. So this to me is the card about, you see how he is sort of like having, almost looks like a band-aid, because I think they're probably thinking, let me just put it on focus, maybe you can see it. Look. You see that kind of like sign on his forehead? It's something that has to be seen. Somebody is not seeing. But look at how she's holding her dress. She's just about to drop her dress. This to me is usually a card of commitment and card of children and marriages, births. It is kind of like very strange, given like this third eye that you have been getting it throughout all these cards. And even though we have the Sun, there's like still something unclear in this situation. The Strength card here is definitely talking about somebody trying to win over their lower impulses. But again, this is kind of like karma card. There's like, again, something really important coming here. Bad health is telling me that maybe you could be depressed and they feel sad about that, or they are depressed. This bad health also can mean just generally bad health, and something that kind of like need to be kind of like reworked on, right? It could be just something that, you know, there's like illness of kind of like situation. But it definitely, since this feature is bad, it's like somebody who kind of like needs rest and naps, and could be problems below the waist. It also can talk about heart problems, because also Leo is kind of like ruling heart. I would say that you have gone through some kind of like really big ordeal, and maybe it is a time to rest and recover now. Maybe you should just like retire and do nothing. Or maybe you have somebody who is really sick in your life, because the messages to you are maybe somebody's just like sick and fed up of everything, right? And maybe something took toll on somebody and they just right now cannot deal with this. But these are really good messages, right? And somebody really needs rest. Somebody really cannot attend to these issues at this stage. But they do love you. There was like some kind of commitment energy, and definitely somebody going out of their way to kind of like really tame almost like that animal inside of them. And so let's see what is karma talking about your connection. You have a Six of Wands and you have a Queen of Wands, and here you had a Princess of Wands, and you have community. And again, we have like that Leo energy. So that kind of energy is coming really, really strong. Six of Wands is about feeling victorious, feeling successful. Again, we have the Sun motive. And there was like really not much of it. This is really saying that maybe it was a try to do it, to remedy it through manipulation, through maybe involvement of the other people, through maybe some woman who maybe kind of like just was like drama queen, as I call Queen of Wands reversed. But this is like really definitely needing to face your fears, how to go forward. I think this is like what karma is saying, like maybe you're feeling to some extent unsuccessful and not being fulfilled, even though like there was, looks like something that was unexpected that sort of like would make people happy. But maybe this was a different sort of happiness, sort of like take care of the bills kind of a happiness, because here, you know, it describes all the people you're connected with. Maybe it is really difficult to face everybody. You know how people are. Hey, how are you? And where is so-and-so? And all of a sudden, like, your wound opens. But luckily, these people here will be family and relatives and friends and sort of like like-minded people. So you will be able to tell them, no more, no more. Because they will be able to kind of give some kind of like 2 cents and kind of like, this is talking back to the teamwork. Now you're going to have people who actually are on your side. You will really find out who your true friends are, who is really going to help you. And you know, like what Oprah said, it's really easy to find people who want to ride with you in a limo, but how many of you will take a bus with you? But this is what you're going to really, really find out. So also, you know, these people are definitely not wealthy. They're sort of like just working class over here, and you know, it's simply kind of like, this was sort of like a domestic perspective that previously was only sort of like something that wealthy class had, because the working class really had to work really hard to just kind of go to like day to day, and sort of like kind of like social interaction was not really the forte. But here for you, literally is telling you, you know what, don't let this jade you, don't let this kind of like make you withdrawn. You actually have been gone through quite a bit. You need to take some space, you need to take some rest, and you need to trust. You have lots of people around you who will be there for you and who will be helping you. So Pisces, let me grab another card for you here. Pisces, let me grab another card for you. Deep freeze. And again, a lion energy. So Leo is sort of like that ruler of the forest, right? Leo is also, you know, in the strength card, kind of like that force. It's sort of like that huge animal that we really need to conquer inside of us. So what's going on here? Maybe you feel revengeful. So this is what it says. Everything has its season. Now it is the time to put activity on hold while you rest. The cold winter beckons you to slow down and put a freeze on things that are not ready to bloom. It is time for regeneration and hibernation. Forego ambitious activity. A pregnant pause allows ideas to gestate, projects to shift and change, and relationships to go through a dreamy state of being, but not going anywhere and not needing to. This is also a time to put all your arguments on ice. Nothing beneficial will come from any of them. Self-care is the most important activity right now. So reflect, read a good book, or get a massage. Rest and dream. And I think that really was coming from everywhere. You have, looks like, been through something that was really sizable through the grinder.
I would love to hear your comments. I would like to see what you say about that, Pisces, because this is heavy. I actually do see that. But at the same time, you're like a champion in this. You keep going. And for sensitive Pisces, this is really, really something. So my dear Pisces, if you really want your personal reading so all the messages come to you, please contact me at cattarot.ca. Also, there are student readings, and you can check down in the description about that for a little bit more. And lastly, I would really like if you kind of like and share and subscribe, and if I see you on my other media. Thank you so much. Love you, and have a wonderful month.